Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Donnie here, and I'm back with another installment in my classic TV Spotlight series. As my videos this month have been about, you know, Halloween and Halloween themes, and as you can see here, I have my Frankenstein shirt on, so keeping with the theme. And today, I'm going to be talking about a TV show. It's from the 1960s. Only ran for two seasons, but still incredibly popular. You know, up to today. It's made a lasting legacy on TV. The show about a family who um, is kind of spooky and monstrous, and loves the occult or whatever you want to call it, and gothic type things. And so I'm sure you're wondering what show I'm talking about. Maybe you think I'm talking about the Addams Family, or maybe you think I'm talking about the Munsters. It's actually both. Because and I always find it very fascinating. Both of these shows are so similar, and they aired exactly the same time. Two seasons from 1964 to 1966. The Munsters had a few more episodes. There were 70 episodes of the Munsters, and I believe only 64 the Addams Family. Um, which is kind of wild that two seasons that would have that many episodes before it. Now a two-season show would last like 40 some episodes or even less. Like back then there were a lot more. But it's pretty interesting. I figure right now is the time to talk about these shows, and I was kind of explored the little similarities and the differences between them. Um, I just always find it fascinating. The you know the Munsters, falls on Herman Munster, played by Fred Gwynne, and his wife Lily, played by Yvonne DiCarlo. And Herman is like a real monstrous Frankenstein type, and Lily is definitely modeled after the Bride of Frankenstein. They have a little son Eddie, who's a little supposed to be a werewolf type, and there's Grandpa Munster, who's called Grandpa Munster, even though he's not a Munster. He's supposed to be Lily's father. So but they kind of just go with it. Um, and kind of the odd one out of the show is Marilyn, who is the niece, who looks normal and doesn't have the monstrous attributes that the other ones do, but they always kind of feel sorry for her for being for looking so different from them. Uh, on the other side, you have the Addams Family, which is about the Gomez Addams and his wife Morticia and their kids Wednesday and Pugsley, and but they have the butler Lurch, who's also a big kind of Frankenstein type, and they also have Thing, the hand that goes around their assistant, and and grandmama who lives with them, and just lots of wacky and crazy. And both the shows, kind of use the juxtaposition between of nat them and their nature and their quirks, and against the normal people who were frequently scared of them. I know, and it was a running joke on the Munsters where anytime someone saw Herman, they'd go running, screaming, and it was always a struggle. Uh, and and it's funny like how similar the shows are. The Munsters and the Addams Family. It's one of like the all-time great television debates, and it's right up there with Ginger or Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island. But everyone knows that the answer to that question is clearly Mrs. Howell. There, so. Um, but I digress. Uh, but funny, but there are a lot of differences between Munsters and the Addams Family. The Addams Family represented more higher class. They were, the family themselves were pretty wealthy and had a lot of, had this big mansion and a lot of great things. Whereas the Munsters were more working class, and Herman worked in a funeral home, and they didn't really have much money, and their home really wasn't as beautiful as the Addams family. It was constantly filled with cobwebs and dust, and it kind of fit the motif fit the motif of the show. But the show, they had their share of struggles, and so it was very interesting how they kind of had these two different different sensibilities when it comes to to the different shows. Um, so yeah, I kind of have more experience with uh, the Munsters because I used to watch that all the time on Nick at Night. It was it was one of my favorite shows there. The Addams Family, I don't remember if it was on if it was on Nick at Night or if it was on. I think it might have been on like maybe later in the night after I went to bed. So uh, um, so I'm not saying I prefer one or the other. I just have more experience with Munsters, and I do own it on DVD. But I've gotten into the Addams Family and they start showing it on MeTV, and I watch it, and just it's a lot of fun, and it's very interesting. Um, and these shows, so both shows, they have their place in television history, and people really love them. And one of the interesting things is that despite them being over the top and them trying to be spooky and whatnot, is uh, that at the core they were kind of wholesome family shows, and it showed the families really be loving, and the husband and wife who really love each other and care about each other. So it's kind of funny that they're these over the top and eccentric characters were had a more healthy family relationship than a lot of other um, television characters. So just very intriguing stuff. So that's it. I recommend both shows. You ever watch them? Like I mentioned, Addams Family is on MeTV. I don't know of any networks that are showing reruns of the Munsters, but let's check it out. So yeah, and as always, I'm always looking for suggestions for future videos on TV shows and movies and whatnot. So um, leave me a comment, and like, subscribe, all the works. And until next time, take it easy.